Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Psych Pod. Today we're joined by Molly and Lilly. They talk about their friendship, their experiences and their views on a variety of psychological topics. Enjoy. Okay, here we are. So episode 2, we are joined by Molly and Lilly to the Psych Pod in episode 2, and we just want to introduce them first. So over to you, Molly, if you give us a little bit of a introduction about yourself.
I'm Molly. I do English literature, politics and psychology, and I'm 16.
Same for you, Lilly, go on.
I'm Lily. I do Spanish, psychology and English language. I'm also 16 and we both live in Bridgewater.
So, first things first, just so in terms of you knowing each other, how, if you want to start, Molly, how do you know each other? How do you know Lily?
So, I think it was preschool and dances around the same time. Preschool first, we were probably about 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. I think we maybe were at preschool together, and then because there was like a group of us that we all started dancing for the same like person, and then I think like one mum said to the other, oh, my little girl's just started baby ballet, and then the other mum would say, oh, where to, and then you'd get involved, and then that's just how we obviously were at preschool. And then
so baby ballet, is that something that you then attended together?
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It's just like, it's not even really ballet, it's just
a load of babies,
just a load of babies, just like someone trying to keep babies like
I think our mums
but
just use it as an excuse to get some quiet time.
Yeah, but they would just sit in the cafe and chat. So
and then but you'd be having a great time, I'm sure. So what do you do nowadays, Lily, in terms of outside of the like lessons and college? Do you do theatre, performance? Like, what do you do?
So obviously we've both danced at the same place for 13 years. Don't really know any different. But I did like pantomime when I was 10 until I was about 12. So I did a couple pantomimes, and then I also do a theatre group called ACT, and I've been there for 6 years, I think. So I do shows annually with them as well.
So is that with Holly that was on the other time? I see.
Yeah.
Whereas you, Molly, what do you do in difference-wise?
So I obviously do dance, but I used to do trampolining, and I did it competitively for a while. It wasn't that good.
I didn't actually know that. Oh yeah, nice. Okay.
And I also did gymnastics for a while. Was captain of the hockey team in year 7.
Can't miss that
out. Brilliant. Hockey. Okay, cool. Right, so we'll come into so this week on this, we're going to do something a little bit different, which we didn't do with Holly, and we've got these cards, and it's just to get your viewpoints. So some of them say agree, disagree, strongly agree, etc. And I'm going to say some statements out, and I just want to get your opinions, and then we'll hear kind of your points of view, all right? So the first statement is about your performance, really. So do you think the reason that you are, I mean, I've heard from other people and Holly and everyone that you are good in terms of dancing and things like this. Do you think I mean, maybe she's lying, I don't know. But do you think you are born to dance? So in the statement was, if I said, I believe that dancers are born that way, that's what I would think. Well, that's what I'm going to say, okay? So have a moment, have a look at the cards. Do you agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, or strongly agree? And you don't have to agree.
Okay.
Okay, right, so if you want to show it to that camera over there. So you've gone, let's have a look now. So strongly disagree and just disagree. Right, okay, let's go to Molly first. So you're completely against that statement.
Yeah, I think that there's not something in you that's like the dancer gene per se. I do think if you start dance younger, then you will obviously be better and have more of a affinity for coordination, things like that. Maybe you might be a bit better driver because you've been working on eye coordination.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's something in you that is a gene that says that you will be a dancer or you won't be, because none of my family have been dancers or anything like that. They're actually quite athletic, whereas I'm not.
So do you think what you said there, so if you had two parents that were dancers, like professional dancers, do you think that wouldn't have any impact?
It might do, because they might be encouraged to go into dance.
Oh, okay. So not genetic,
Not
but
genetically,
right.
yeah.
Okay, right, okay, so we might come back to you in a second, Molly. So, Lily, you've gone just disagree. So, do you agree with what Molly said?
Yeah, I agree with what Molly says. Like, for me and my family, I obviously dance, sing, act, perform. But, like, my dad was a professional rugby player. My brother plays multiple sports. My mum likes to say she was from a sporting background, but she wasn't. She played hockey at Young Farmers. But when she sees this, she's going to be like...
No.
But so in that sense, I agree. I was put into dance.
But not genetically?
But no, I wouldn't say so. Because, and I'm not a sporty person at all, but it depends. Maybe if I was put into that at a young age, like my brother was, I would be more like, but then I never showed interest to it. So which makes you maybe beg to differ.
Also, about your dad being a rugby player and also your brother being a rugby player, dance and rugby, they like contrast.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Because my dad, when he played for England Colts for a bit, when he had like his training process for that, he actually had to do 6 weeks of ballet to basically work on flexibility and coordination, which when he told me, I was like, surely not, no way.
It's funny, isn't it? Because things like sports, like gymnastics, they say, don't they, in kids, is really, really good for like other sports in the future and things as well. Okay, but why just disagree? Why not strongly disagree?
What else I was going to say was that, like, I know a lot of people that in their families, they all sing. They can all sing incredibly, or they're all really good at dance, or they've just been all brought up in that performance environment, which especially when they're all really good at singing. You can get training to be a singer, but you've got to have something to begin with that makes you think that maybe there is something genetic that has made them all really good singers. Because I feel like it's not something that's what makes you a good singer. It's not really something that I don't know if anyone knows.
Yeah, it's a big thing, isn't it? Because, like you said, with music or musical instruments, you train, don't you?
Yeah.
And you can get better at something if you persist. But, like you said, you can't change your vocal cords as well. Maybe you can. But yeah, that's good. Okay, right. Any closing points on that? Or should we move on?
Don't think so.
Let's move on. Right, so here we go. So the next question, the next statement is, animals should be used in psychological research. So this is not for like makeup and that kind of thing. This is for things like Harlow's study with attachment, where they're using animals to try and explain human behaviour. So let's see what you've gone for. Up to the camera. So Molly's gone for agree. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So would you say, by the way, as friends, you disagree quite a lot? Or agree?
To be fair, I think I wouldn't say more so than any of my other friends, but I think because we're both very strongly opinionated people, that sometimes we feel like we do.
Yeah.
But when we agree on something, there's no getting past us.
Yeah, no. Yeah, fair enough.
I feel like before we've had like a couple of disagreements that something to do with like friendship group drama.
Yeah.
But it's like we have different takes on things, but we don't we don't make it into an argument.
Yeah, it doesn't. We're just like, and
it's
then
more of a discussion.
And then one of us will see why the other person feels like that, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
But I think like that is just the way we're brought up. We obviously we get on so well, and like our parents are friends, but obviously we do have different upbringings. So
do you have brothers? You obviously mentioned a brother before.
Yeah.
You have siblings.
Yeah, I have a brother, an older brother, and a younger sister.
So would you say you're more? Do you think you two have influenced each other more I mean, this is a separate question, but we're going a bit off topic here. But do you think your family has influenced you more or each other? Like with decisions or with things like, say, like with your dance, you obviously both said maybe you were put into it, but do you think you kind of encouraged each other to carry on?
I think, like, one person doing it has definitely kept the other person doing it, because I know that I know other people that we dance with that, like, we're really good friends with. They say to us, if you guys didn't do it, then I wouldn't be doing it. But
so that's a good, like, big peer influence kind of thing. Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't, because me doing like acting and singing and the more theatre side of it has never influenced Molly. Molly hates musicals, so.
Does she?
Which is a little bit
Mamma
controversial.
Mia is the only one that I can deal with.
Which one?
Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia. I mean, maybe that should have been one of our things.
Do you like musicals?
Do you like musicals? We'll get
Strongly disagree.
maybe we'll get into it. Actually, no, I've thought of another one. For in a second, actually, to do with that. Remind me. Right, so animals. So you're saying agree, Molly. You're saying disagree, Lily. So we'll come to you first, Molly. Why do you think animals? So, just over to you. What do you think?
I think animals obviously have brains. And that's a real existential remark. I think that it's really useful for us to look at the biological side of things when talking about psychology, because it's a social science, and one of the main things about psychology compared to maybe sociology or other things that are considered less scientific is that it's widely credited and recognised, and using animals' brains and obviously dissecting them, we learn a lot about that biologically. Obviously we can't ask them questions. We can't, they don't have emotions like we have emotions. So it's different, and it shouldn't be generalised, which is why I put agree, but it shouldn't be generalised to all humans, because obviously we're a different species. But what else are you going to use? Humans.
Yeah, no, fair play. So do you think there's anything that can be generalised, like in terms of learning behaviour, like what you two have studied in terms of Skinner and Pavlov and all that stuff? Do you think what's demonstrated in a rat or a pigeon or something could be applied to human learning?
I think so, because learning especially is something that's very primal and inbuilt. So looking at animals, essentially like less evolved versions of ourselves, we go back to our beginnings and our survival instincts and all the human influences stripped away, and we look at our fundamental upbringing, really.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Right, okay then, Lily.
Yeah, no, Molly's argument is very good, and like I said agree, I don't strongly. Sorry, I said disagree. I don't strongly disagree.
She's influenced.
But like what Molly said about, we can't talk to them, we can't see their emotions. That is what for me is what makes me disagree, because obviously yes, psychology is a social science. And it's about the brain, and animals have brains, as we know. But I think a big part of the way that we investigate in psychology is to do with communication. Yes, it's standardised procedures and lab experiments, but it's obviously you've got the more biological topics, but it's not like biology where it's digging into a brain and actually looking at it. It's about the effects that it has, and we see those effects on body language, communication, which some people, I mean, I'm not someone that is highly trained in analysing animals, but I just think that it's just we don't learn about the psychology of animals. We learn about the psychology and the study of the brain of humans. So why are we testing on animals, but then I do agree with what Molly said as how could we do those experiments on humans, like putting them in a box.
Yeah, fair play. So do you think, or could you put a human in a box?
I think you could, but if you wanted to, you could. But it wouldn't have the same effect as it does with an animal, because not that animals are used to being in boxes, but they're not going to be what is going on, why am I in it? Then, whereas like with humans, we'd work out what's going on.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Do animals do that?
Yeah, that's the question. And also, do you think ethically it's okay? So we've only really looked at Skinner and Pavlov, which aren't too bad, but in the second year we'd look at things where they would potentially cause harm. So they take away, for example, monkeys' mothers, and they look at the impact if it's raised on a cloth mother, or it's this Harlow's experiment. I may have mentioned it. So do you think ethically we should use animals if it's causing them harm?
I would. Sorry, I just thought of something. But I would say, like, for that, if we're experimenting on animals that is potentially animal cruelty rather than humans, and thinking, oh, it's fine, like, you wouldn't do that to humans. I'm trying to think how to word it properly. But you know what I mean? Like, we're saying, oh, we'll do it on animals, not humans, because, and not, like, just not thinking about the cruelty, like, sort of separating the cruelty from humans to animals. So how can you then compare, that means that the animals means humans? It's really hard to word it.
No, I think you kind of mean that if they're different in terms of cruelty, so you can't compare. Yeah. Maybe, quite possibly. And these are the things, as I said, we will look at animal studies moving forward. But it'd be interesting to see what. I wonder what do you reckon Holly would say about the use of animals?
See, I know Holly, but I don't know psychology Holly.
Oh, don't you?
I think she'd probably say no. No animals.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what she says. Right. Okay. So our final element or final question is around serial killers. Right. So serial killers are born to kill. Right. So that's the statement. Serial killers are born to kill. So they are destined, so to speak, at birth. They will become a killer.
Trying to think how strongly I feel about my decision.
Already? I think I'm done.
I'm going to go safe, but I might.
I think I've gone for the same one.
Okay.
Right, go on. Let's have a look. I'll up to the camera first, and then let's have a look. Disagree. Okay, right. So, were you between strongly disagree and disagree?
Yeah.
I was between disagree and agree.
Right, so you're kind of in the middle. Okay, right. So we'll go with you first this time, Lily. So, why were you on the edge of strongly?
God, why was I on the edge? I think probably I wasn't sure what Molly was going to say, and I was thinking she's probably going to have a good argument to come back at me.
Brilliant.
No, but because I think I feel like I don't know enough to know whether. But does anyone know enough to know whether there is something in you that makes you a killer? Because, like, my mum, she's a Senko, so over the years she's had to deal with a lot of families and kids that have maybe not had the best upbringings, and obviously children that do have educational needs.
Yeah.
And I know that she would say probably the same as what I would, that your upbringing really makes a difference, because I know that Molly's mum says to her, and I know a lot of our friends our parents say to us, you're so lucky that you've got what you've got, and they drill it into us to be so grateful, because especially for my mum, she knows so many people that have been so much less fortunate.
Yeah.
But there are those people that they just are their parents, and my mum, she I know she's got a few students that are adopted, and like I've talked to her about it, and I've said to her about no, because I've said to her, like, well, how come they have the not just educational needs, just social difficulties? And I said, well, how come they have that if they were taken from the other parents from birth, and given to they're obviously adopted parents? And my mum said that even in the womb, whatever is happening with the parents is affecting the child, which makes me think that yes, maybe there is something that is in the genes that makes that person who they are, but I would say that upbringing is a huge part of what makes you who you are.
And are you kind of saying that because you're prepared for what Molly's about to say, kind of as well, in terms of the nature side and the born kill? Okay, right, let's see what Molly says first, and then
So I do agree with that statement, but I'd just say that lots and lots of people go through hardships, and especially children. My mum works in a school as well, so she sees a lot of different issues surrounding children. But I think it's probably a bit unfair to say that they're more likely to become a serial killer just because they've had an unfair upbringing. I think that, there's a certain element of, I mean, the abused becomes the abuser.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of children try and break that cycle. And another thing is their parents are obviously a certain way. What made them that way? And you can go on and on and on, but surely there's got to be something at the end of the line that's fundamentally different.
Yeah, that stemmed it.
Stem, really. So where it originally kind of came from. Okay, right, fair enough. So if we take, I mean, there's numerous ones, isn't there? Serial killers. A lot of the, like, what you're both kind of saying in terms of upbringing. If you had someone in the room that was saying, I strongly agree. So say I said, yeah, it's not what I believe, but say 100% serial killers are born. What would your kind of comeback to that be?
How is there something, like, it's similar to what we were saying about performing. There's not some, we don't believe there's something in you that makes you do that. Like, how can there be something in you that makes you a bad person? How can you just be... I just don't think that people are born evil. Okay,
yeah, fair enough.
I think that comes into the free will argument. It's kind of saying that you have no free will, everything's determined, you have no choice over your actions. And I do think that that's something that's, like, distinctly human. We have choice.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I'd argue that a serial killer would be flagged earlier if they were from the womb going to be a serial killer. There'd be
signs like early on. Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, right. So as we kind of come to an end here, I just wanted to, similar to what I did with Holly, really, and I just wanted to finish. We did like a top 3 people that have kind of influenced you, kind of thing. I started with saying psychologists, but obviously as first years you may not have met all of them yet, or not that Holly did, but so we'll just, rather than doing the top 3, because there's 2 of you, can you name one person that you think has had the biggest influence? So this could be celebrity, it could be family member, it could be anything, it could be teacher, it could be anyone. Have a thing. Anyone it's come to
really
mind?
Really hard to say one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, can you think of like a few? Would that make it easier? Like 2 or 3? Yeah, go on then. Molly.
I'd say my brother. Academically, I think when I was little, I always looked up to him because we're 3 years apart. So when I was in year 8, he was in year 11.
Yeah.
And I always, like, when I was choosing my options even, I was like, he really enjoyed this, so I'll do this. And I think it comes with the territory of being a younger sibling. You always compare yourself to them and look up to them.
Similar to me. Exactly the same as me. My sister's 3 years older, and I know what you mean. And did you get compared a little bit, though, in academic achievement, or do you think that's part of something that's also influenced you to do well?
Definitely. I think my parents, obviously they didn't do it on purpose, but it's just like our GCSE results that they would have like cross reference analysed them together, and I think my youngest sister, she actually struggles with that, probably being in the shadow of
two older siblings
who are maybe more academic, whereas she's much more sporty.
How much younger is she?
She's 2 years younger than me.
2 years. So she's in year 10, is it?
Yeah,
Year 10. Okay.
year 10.
So she's got a more sporty background.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, fair enough. Anyone else that comes to mind?
Lily.
Really?
I would say, especially socially, you're like naturally quite extroverted.
Yeah.
And I'd say meeting new people, I'd be more confident meeting new people if I was with you, because
Gonna get emotional. No, fair enough. Because go on. Why do you think?
so I think,
Keep it coming.
I think naturally I'm actually quite introverted. But when like growing up around Lily, who's more extroverted, she's definitely brought me out of my shell. So if I was to meet new people, I'd probably look at her and mirror her, how she acts, and then I'd be able to go off and do my own things. But socially, I think she's had quite a big impact.
Okay. Now this doesn't mean you have to say Molly.
No, to be fair, I did think about. I was thinking, God, who am I thinking? My mum. Any people probably Molly.
Yeah. So we'll just get two from you then, Lily.
Yeah.
So there might be more.
So first of all, my mum, 100%. Like, if you met my mum, you would say me and my mum probably are the same person, and Molly can probably vouch for it. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, oh, that was a bit weird. We look very similar as well. But like, my mum, she's just, I mean, you can't, everyone's mum, my mum's just great. She's just, it's just my mum. And
but again, sorry, I'm just thinking with the psychology head, is that you're very similar because genetically, or is it?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, because just me and my mum have a very close relationship. We get on really well. We have a lot of things in common. And that's could be just because I've looked up to her.
Yeah, like nurturing side and
and obviously I've got a younger brother. He's in year 9, and like my mum will always say to me that, oh, you're so good as a sister, but that's because I've seen what she's like, and I've mirrored that. But
nice.
I just my mum, she's just so good at explaining things, and a lot of that is to do with her job. She's really good at her job, and she just knows a lot of things, knows a lot of people as well. So that is definitely a reason that I'm
as dramatic as each other.
But then secondly, I would definitely say Molly, but obviously like the complete opposite reason almost. Whereas Molly says I've brought her out of her shell, and sort of, because I wouldn't say you're really maybe the most sociable person, not in a way that you just want to sit on your phone or anything. You're very happy with what you've got. Whereas I'm very much so content with what I've got, but I love meeting new people. I love talking to people. So I would say that Molly's sort of done that for me, but in the opposite, because I'm someone that is quite extroverted, when I want to be that just not quite so extroverted, I've thought I can't do that, because how can I go from that to that? And being with Molly, I feel like I can not be so social and outgoing.
Do you think that from the stats, like, sorry to interrupt, like this, from the kind of academic point of view, do you feel that Molly's had, like, were you always both like always set to get quite good grades, or do you think Molly being quite academic has helped you as well, or do you think you're on the same
I feel
level?
like in primary school we were at quite similar points all the way through, really. And then we weren't that close the sort of first half of secondary school, and I was sort of just in a friendship group that was just more about being in a big friendship group and going out and going to parks and stuff like that. So I didn't drop, but that was just how it went for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'm saying it like that, but it wasn't like a drinking drug. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a very much, let's just get through this lesson and then we can go out on the field and chat and whatever. Whereas, and I was in a big group, whereas I feel like you were in a more of a tighter group with people that are very academic, and not because they just are. That is just how they are.
I didn't go around being like, what are you getting in your GCSE? Your friends are
Got
and
like
then,
a tick list.
when we got to about year 10, that's when we sort of joined forces. And Molly's definitely a very intellectual person, very intelligent, especially the way she thinks and speaks. And I feel like, because I've got so much to say, sometimes I don't know how to say it, and then Molly will say it for me. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so it's like you're complementing each other in terms of almost making up for like not what the other one hasn't got. Because I still believe, I feel you're still, obviously I didn't know you back then, but still very intelligent. I would say you're social and do speak to people, but you can, as you've spoke more, see what you've brought out, I think, in each other, which is great. Right, so that's it. We've come towards the end. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
That's all right. And as I said, next week I'm not too sure who's going to come on yet, but yeah, maybe we'll do this with two, or maybe not. Maybe we'll have you back. Maybe we'll get a Holly as well.
Well, that would be good.
I mean, that actually would be quite funny, but we'll see. We'll see what she says. Anyway, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. There we go.